Hi, you guys. It's Elizabeth from Elizabeth's Oracle. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, we are going to talk about the Sun through Gemini cycle for 2017. It's an interesting one with a variety of energies, which is just how Gemini likes it. So, here are the start times for each section, and let's look at some charts and see what's coming up. Okay, so I'm going to do this where we walk through the charts that I'm going to show you, and then we'll talk about some of the specific happenings in addition to that and kind of my sense of this. As you know, the sun is moving into the mutable air sign of Gemini. Here's the chart for that. And voila, look at that. You see, um, the sun is in Gemini finally joining Mars, which is pretty far advanced into Gemini at this point. But you also have Venus back there in Aries. This has been such a long transit for her. And we have Mercury in Taurus. So we're going to have this nice set of energy still really holding the springtime of 2017. As you guys know, the mutable signs close out their seasons, so Gemini will be closing out the spring of 2017. And another thing I want you to notice in this chart is the variety. Not only do we have your cardinal signs, your fixed signs, and your mutables, but we also have all the elements represented. That's kind of nice. We have Gemini, of course, is the air, but we've also got Jupiter there in Libra. We've got the fire represented between the North Node and the planets in Aries. And as we start, it's Venus and Uranus, and of course, Saturn in Sagittarius. We have water represented with Neptune, of course, holding the energy in Pisces. But later in the cycle, and I'll get to this, Mars is going to go into Cancer, and we have the element of Earth. We've got Capricorn energy and Taurus energy. So Gemini likes to keep things interesting, and this cycle will definitely help it do that. And again, I kind of did the color charting thing so you guys can follow along pretty easily with the color scheme going on here. I did this one via cardinal, fixed, and mutable. So you'll be able to see those angles a little more clearly as we talk about them. But let's move to the new moon, new Gemini moon. So what is Gemini representing? Communication, siblings, the mental aspect of life, travel, mechanical things. And then let's get to this next chart, because these are the changes that are going to be beginning to happen on the 4th of June. We have Mars moving into Cancer. And then on the 6th, in this chart, you're going to see it's a big change day. Both Mercury, which is up to speed, comes home to Gemini, and we have Venus finally changing signs. Now, she's been in Aries since February because she had that retrograde. This is a really big changeover. Now, she's also coming home. So this is just a nice day. Interesting that it's happening at the same time. And you can see Mars has just moved into Cancer. So the three planets, our personal planets, have all changed signs. And so that's one of the big signatures about this cycle. It's just gonna, it's Gemini. It likes excitement, it likes to keep going. It just keeps moving through different energies, and it doesn't get too stuck in anything. And we're certainly not going to have that. Now, the next chart I want to show you is for the full moon. You guys know I like to highlight those. Now, this is a bit of that mutable square energy. So on that big full moon, you're also going to notice Jupiter turning direct, like big stuff this cycle. A lot moving forward, getting a lot of momentum going, and all that air moving moving along communications. Now, so those are the highlights in the charts. And let me do just one more chart to show you where things end up. All right, so this final chart here is one of those clashes, those mutable things that I was telling you about. This is Mercury opposing Saturn. So again, any vestiges of that mutable stuff that we went through that I talk about in way too much detail on these videos. This is kind of we knew we were going to have a visitation of it, obviously with the sun in a mutable sign, but this is another little bit of it. So again, we're going to have a lot, as you can see, a lot of variety, a lot of movement in the planet. So this should keep things interesting, something that Gemini loves. What I also like is, and this is the part I kind of want to get into on this video, is so true to the Gemini form. It's never like all one way or the other. There's always the, on the other hand, kind of energy. So let's look at a couple of these examples of where I'd love to tell you guys, oh, it's all full speed ahead and everything like that. But you're going to have that Gemini, the twins kind of thing, where you might see it as like, no, it's duplicitous or any, two-faced or something like that. But that's not really what it is. It's just that Gemini really wants, they engage with you. They really want to know what you think, but there's this other, happy, shiny thing over there, and that might be really interesting too. And then, oh yeah, there's this thing. Oh, and back there was that. And so they're kind of all over the place. And they're genuinely interested in each thing, but they go through that variety thing and get a information, which Mercury ruled, from a variety of sources, and then they put it all together. So this circulation and this, what I call a kaleidoscopic bunch of energies, this cycle is going to be par for the course with Gemini, but we are going to see the twins in evidence, and I'm going to show you a couple of examples. Let's go back to that chart of the new moon, because I know me, I usually love to tell you guys, hey, set your intention, whatever the Gemini thing is. This could be one for writing and creativity or networking. Remember, Gemini is a super sociable sign. So you could say, oh, it's Gemini and all that. But look at Venus in Aries instigating. Look who she's squaring. Like, bam, Pluto. That's not to be taken lightly. It may not ruin the whole day, but wow, it's a day to be a little careful with conflicts that may involve your love life and relationships, because that's Venus's territory and she's in Aries. Again, not her favorite place to be. That's where she is at this point in the sky. But you get a square like that and it could be a little contentious. Next one I want to show you, and this one I loved. I thought this was hilarious because I kind of had a almost a personal experience. So let's move to Memorial Day weekend. So we have the 28th and 29th. And you look early in the day on the 28th and you have Mercury communication, still in grounded Taurus at this point, and it's sextiling Neptune. And like, what could be more dreamy? And the image that I saw when I was writing this down, I thought, oh, it's like a hike, like Mercury is all like, oh yeah, let's be in nature and look at all the trees and listen to the birds. And, Neptune loves it. What could be more dreamy? I mean, maybe there's even you're walking along a creek or a river and you stop to listen to the beautiful water flowing by. These two getting along great. Now, that Gemini thing, on the other hand, woo, later that night, look at Mars and Saturn. Mars and Saturn, they are going to get into it. Again, this is Mars heating up in the late degrees of Gemini before it changes signs, and it's going to get into it with Saturn. This one's never fun. They are both very intense, and they don't mind an argument. That's Mars is primarily, that's what it does, is it stirs things up and it gives us a lot of energy. Saturn, of course, puts on the restrictions. And what I was thinking about in terms of that hiking analogy, I'm like, oh yeah, you could end up very lost at this point, or this is when it's like, we didn't bring enough water, or I'm getting dehydrated. So could be long lines at the parks by then. Everybody decided that was going to be a beautiful weekend. So all I want to say is, starting out, be it camping or whatever. So when you have those beautiful connections, we got Mercury and Neptune in this one. Be practical. That's the Saturn aspect. And then if you've gone on the hike and the GPS goes down and all of that, you have other ways of finding your way back. So I just feel like this will definitely be one of those Memorial Days where you hear, oh yeah, these hikers got lost here, or one of those kinds of stories, just because that aspect coming up. But that is a contentious one. So again, that's that whole Gemini thing where it's going to keep changing, it keeps moving, it's mutable, so nothing stays stuck for too long. But the thing I want to point out to you is the first, a lot of people are going to be actually glad to get back to work that week. I know that sounds weird because you're like, it's a holiday, but one with a Saturn Mars opposition. There's some really good, I think, financial news coming at the end of the month, and I do want to point that out. So we have just a nice set of aspects for a week in the days leading up to everything changing signs. On the 30th, big one, big one, big one. I love this. We have Mars again, all that energy again. This time it's sextiling Uranus in Aries. So this one, instead of a, kind of an opposition, a negative aspect involving Mars, this one's big, not only because it's involving an outer planet, but it's so much energy here. We have, a nice combination. So this is why I think there'll be something kind of big on the global sense and stage, that looks very positive. And the next day you have Mercury trining Pluto. That's a double Earth kind of thing. You've got Taurus and you've got Capricorn working together in a supportive way. So I'm not sure what's going to break through on the news cycle around that. Could be the tax plans laid out, could be some agreement on the health care. But it seems to be global because within those 2 days, you've got both Uranus and Pluto in the mix. And you guys know when we work with those, it takes weeks on either side of this sort of buildup around them. But I like that they're having positive interactions. And then the very next day is Venus trining Saturn. So even Saturn, who can be kind of difficult, is, getting a friendly Venus nudge there. And then rounding out that week, we have Venus connecting with Uranus. So again, another connection here, involving the outer planets. That's a very positive one. These two are both in Aries. This is like excitement and, because it's relationships, love life, resources. Venus does a lot of good things for us. Again, this looks like positive news, but it's also the day. Remember how I was saying, you had the planets that'll be in Gemini are going to make the nice trines to Jupiter. Well, this is the Sun trine to Jupiter. So super positive aspect in air. Those two are on the same team in terms of being in air signs. So again, like I just love that this sort of comes, all in a row here. So the next week things start moving around and changing their focus with all those personal planets changing signs. So different energies start to come on board. And then we have that big, build up to the full moon. But overall, again, I see this as just a very positive cycle. And it's not just because I like get excited about everything. I just love that even the moments that are a little wonky, and it will definitely, and you guys are like, I can't get any wonkier than this, than the world we're living in right now. But I definitely think it's gonna have those like Gemini things where you're like, I thought he said he's doing this, and now she's doing that, and things are just kind of coming out of everywhere. It's going to have like that Gemini thing of being a little all over the place. But that having been said, we just have some consistency here, with this changing of the guard on the 6th, where, yes, Mercury will get out of Taurus, but Venus will go into Taurus. Remember how I told you last month, Taurus just always gives us the go-to in terms of a grounded energy. And again, we have the nodes now staying in fixed signs. I feel like in this cycle, we have something for everyone, and it's going to be an energy just that keeps moving forward, especially with this big Jupiter turning direct on the full moon. Um, anything that's been held back again in terms of resources and all of that. But it's in the sign of relationships. So this is a lot of forward movement. It just depends, of course, where your chart, how it shows up, and all that good stuff. But overall, my sense is things are so much better in the Gemini cycle 2017 from 2016. And this is really a time to be out and about and working towards what you want, but just also enjoying as many aspects of your life as you can possibly fit into a day. Because this is definitely some good cosmic energy. So that's kind of my take for now. And let me just do the resources. So I'll be going over this in a little more detail with my friend Kristy Ayala on her show, Kristy's Connection to the Soul on Blog Talk Radio. The links are always in the description box. I am Elizabeth from Elizabeth's Oracle. You can pop over to my site to get a reading or to sign up for my free newsletter, whatever you like doing, or subscribe to the channel, however you would like to do that. And I think that's like all the announcements this cycle. It's Gemini. I even finding the time like to do this, I kept like being distracted. So I was laughing because I was just like, yeah, that would be perfectly appropriate for Gemini. A little distracted, but we can zoom in and get things done when we need to. And I like that financial piece that's coming in the end of May, and I think it's going to be. We just continue to make forward progress. All that amplification from Aries still for so much of the cycle, and those nice Uranian connections. So keep moving forward, and we'll talk to you when the sun heads into Cancer.